The vast emptiness of space stretched out before the Zarnok fleet. Their ships, a mismatched collection of old and patched-up vessels, drifted aimlessly. Inside, the Zarnok people huddled together, their large, sad eyes reflecting the starlight. They were running out of food, water, and hope. Karlon, a young Zarnok male, stood at a viewing window. His thin, blue-skinned frame trembled slightly as he watched his people move about the ship. They all looked tired and scared. Karlon's antenna drooped, a sign of his sadness. Why does the galaxy hate us so much? He wondered. The Zarnok were not like other species in the galaxy. They were peaceful and gentle. Their bodies were fragile, with no natural defenses. They couldn't run fast or lift heavy things, but they had other gifts that made them special. Zarnok could feel emotions very strongly. They could sense when others were sad or happy, even from far away. They also had beautiful voices that could calm angry hearts or cheer up those who felt down. But the other aliens in the galaxy didn't care about these things. Karlon remembered the day when everything changed. He was just a child then. The big, important aliens from the Galactic Council came to the Zarnok homeworld. They looked at the Zarnok with cold eyes and said cruel words. "Your species is too weak," they had said. "You have no place in our galaxy. You will only slow us down and cause problems." The Zarnok tried to explain their unique abilities. They showed how they could help solve conflicts and make people understand each other better. But the Council didn't listen. Emotions are not important. The Council members had sneered. "We need strength and power. You are useless to us." And so, the Galactic Council made a terrible decision. They told all other species to stay away from the Zarnok. No one was allowed to trade with them or help them. The Zarnok were left alone, cut off from the rest of the galaxy. Life became very hard after that. The Zarnok couldn't get the things they needed from other planets anymore. Their own world didn't have enough resources for everyone. Many Zarnok got sick or hungry. They knew they had to leave their home to survive. That's how they ended up here, floating in space with nowhere to go. Karlon sighed, his breath fogging up the window. He turned away and walked through the crowded ship. Everywhere he looked, he saw his people trying to make the best of their situation. Some were fixing old machines to keep the ships running. Others were carefully rationing out the last of their food. In one corner, a group of Zarnok children sat in a circle, their antennas touching as they shared their feelings without words. Karlon stopped to watch the children. Despite everything, they still found moments of joy. Their antennas wiggled happily as they played a simple game with pebbles. Karlon felt a small spark of hope in his heart. Just then, alarms started blaring throughout the ship. Karlon's antennas shot up in surprise and fear. What now? Had the Galactic Council found them? Were they going to be attacked? He rushed to the bridge of the ship, pushing through the panicking crowd. When he got there, he saw the ship's captain, Melira, staring at a big screen with wide eyes. "What is it?" Karlon asked, his voice shaking. Melira turned to him, her expression a mix of fear and something else. Was it hope? "We've detected a ship," she said. "It's not like any we've seen before. It's trying to communicate with us." Karlon felt a strange tingling in his antennas. He could sense strong emotions coming from the unknown ship, but they weren't angry or hateful. They felt curious, kind, even. As they watched, a message appeared on their screen. It was in a language they'd never seen before, but somehow they understood its meaning. "Hello, we are humans from the planet Earth. Do you need help?" Karlon and Melira looked at each other, their antennas quivering with excitement and nervousness. Could this be the chance they had been waiting for, or was it just another trap? The fate of the Zarnok hung in the balance as they prepared to answer this unexpected call from the stars. The human ship, named Curiosity, floated in space near the Zarnok fleet. It was much smaller than the alien vessels, but it looked new and shiny. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her eyes wide with excitement. "I can't believe it," she whispered. "Real aliens." Her crew shared her amazement. They had been on a routine exploration mission when they detected the strange fleet. No one had expected to make first contact with an alien species today. On the main screen, they could see the largest Zarnock ship. It looked old and battered, held together with patches and hope. Sarah felt a mix of curiosity and concern. "They look like they're in trouble," said Jack, the ship's engineer. "Should we try to communicate again?" Sarah nodded. "Yes, but let's be careful. We don't know if they're friendly." Meanwhile, on the Zarnock ship, Caroline and Melira were having a heated discussion. "We should answer them," Caroline said, his antennas twitching excitedly. "I can sense their emotions. They don't mean us harm." Melira looked doubtful. "But what if it's a trick? The Galactic Council might be testing us." Just then, another message appeared on their screen. "We come in peace. We want to help. Can you understand us?" Caroline's antennas perked up. "See, they want to help. We have to take this chance, Melira. What do we have to lose?" After a moment of hesitation, Melira nodded. With shaking hands, she sent a reply. "We understand. We are Zarnock. We need help." On the Curiosity, the crew cheered when they received the response. "They can communicate," Sarah said, grinning. "Let's set up a video link." It took some time to align their systems, but finally, the screens on both ships flickered to life. The humans gasped as they saw the Zarnock for the first time. With their blue skin, large eyes, and quivering antennas, the aliens looked both strange and oddly beautiful. The Zarnock were equally fascinated by the humans. They had never seen creatures like these before, with their varied skin colors and hair. "Hello," Sarah said, trying to keep her voice calm. "I'm Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth ship Curiosity. Who am I speaking with?" Melira stepped forward, her voice melodious even through the translator. "I am Melira, captain of this vessel. This is Caroline, my advisor." She gestured to the young Zarnock beside her. As they began to talk, both sides felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. The humans asked about the Zarnock fleet and why they seemed to be in distress. Slowly, Melira and Caroline explained their situation, how they had been rejected by the Galactic Council and forced to leave their home. The humans listened with growing shock and sympathy. "That's terrible," Sarah said. "Why would anyone treat you like that?" Caroline's antennas drooped. "They say we are too weak, that we have no value." Jack, the engineer, spoke up. "But surely you must have some unique abilities. Every species does." Melira and Caroline exchanged glances. Should they reveal their empathic abilities? What if the humans reacted like the Council? Caroline decided to take a chance. He focused his emotions, projecting feelings of peace and friendship towards the human ship. On the Curiosity, the crew suddenly felt a wave of warm, positive emotions wash over them. "Whoa!" Sarah exclaimed. "Did you feel that?" "What was that?" Caroline explained their empathic abilities and their talent for emotional communication. Instead of dismissing them, the humans were fascinated. "That's amazing," Sarah said. "I can think of so many ways that could be useful. Diplomacy, conflict resolution, even mental health treatment." For the first time in years, the Zarnock felt a glimmer of hope. These humans didn't think they were weak or useless. They saw value in the very things the Galactic Council had dismissed. As they continued to talk, both sides grew more comfortable. The humans offered to provide immediate aid, food, water, and medical supplies. The Zarnock gratefully accepted. "We need to report this to Earth," Sarah told her crew. "The Zarnock need a safe haven, and I think we might be able to provide it." As the human ship prepared to send its report, the Zarnock watched with a mixture of hope and anxiety. Could these strange creatures really be their saviors? Or would this brief moment of kindness be snatched away like everything else? Only time would tell. But for now, both humans and Zarnock felt that something important had begun. a friendship that could change the galaxy. The sky over New Mexico blazed with orange and pink as the sun set. But today, it wasn't just the sunset that lit up the sky. A fleet of ships, some sleek and Earth-made, others patched up and alien, descended from the clouds. On the ground, a crowd had gathered. Humans of all ages and backgrounds stood watching, their faces a mix of excitement and nervousness. Among them was Dr. Emily Patel, Earth's lead xenobiologist. Her heart raced as she watched the ships land. "This is it," she whispered to herself. "Everything changes today." The ships touched down one by one. From the Earth vessels, soldiers and officials emerged, looking proud but tired after their long journey escorting the Zarnok fleet. Then, slowly, the doors of the alien ships opened. Carlon was the first to step out. He blinked in the fading sunlight, his large eyes taking in the crowd of humans. His antennas quivered with a mix of fear and hope. Behind him, other Zarnok emerged, looking equally amazed and scared. Dr. Patel stepped forward, a warm smile on her face. "Welcome to Earth," she said, her voice amplified for all to hear. "We're honored to have you here." Carlon felt a wave of kindness from the woman. His antennas perked up, and he smiled back. "Thank you," he said, his melodious voice carrying across the silent crowd. "We are grateful for your kindness." As more Zarnok disembarked, the humans began to murmur. Some looked excited, others unsure. A child pointed at his Zarnok and laughed, saying, "Mommy, they're blue." The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. The Zarnok were led to a specially prepared compound nearby. It had living quarters, medical facilities, and areas for them to gather. Everything had been designed with their comfort in mind, based on what the humans had learned during their journey to Earth. As night fell, Carlon sat in his new room, looking out the window at the star-filled sky. It was strange to see it from a planet's surface after so long in space. He felt a mix of emotions, relief at finding safety, sadness for his lost home, and anxiety about the future. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. It was Melira, the ship's captain. "How are you feeling?" she asked, her antennas drooping slightly with concern. Carlon sighed. "It's all so strange," he said. "The humans are kind, but everything is so different here." Melira nodded. "I know, but we must adapt. It's our only chance." The next morning, the real work began. Dr. Patel and her team started medical checkups on all the Zarnok. They were fascinated by the aliens' biology, especially their empathic abilities. "Can you show me how it works?" Dr. Patel asked Carlon during his checkup. Carlon nodded. He concentrated, then projected a feeling of calm towards the doctor. Dr. Patel's eyes widened as she felt a wave of peace wash over her. "That's incredible," she exclaimed. "The applications for this could be enormous. Think of how this could help people with mental health issues or in conflict resolution." But not everything went smoothly. Some humans were scared of the aliens. A small group of protesters gathered outside the compound, holding signs that read "Earth for Humans" and "Aliens Go Home." When Carlon saw this, his antennas drooped. "Maybe we shouldn't have come," he said to Melira. But then something unexpected happened. A group of human children approached the protesters. They were carrying drawings they had made of the Zarnok, full of bright colors and smiling blue faces. "They're our friends," one child shouted. "They're nice, and they can help people feel better." The protesters looked uncomfortable. Some of them lowered their signs. Dr. Patel, watching this, turned to Carlon and Melira. "It will take time," she said gently, "but more and more people will come to accept you. You have gifts that can benefit all of us." As the days passed, the Zarnok began to settle in. They shared their knowledge and abilities with the humans, and in return, the humans taught them about Earth culture and technology. Slowly but surely, friendships began to form. One evening, as Carlon watched the sunset with his new human friends, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: hope. Maybe, just maybe, they had found a new home among the stars. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with angry voices. Alien diplomats from 100 worlds argued loudly, their strange faces twisted with fury. At the center of it all stood Ambassador John Martinez, Earth's representative. He looked small compared to the large, intimidating aliens around him, but his voice was firm. Earth will not abandon the Zarnak, he declared. They have done nothing wrong. We will continue to offer them sanctuary. The room erupted in shouts. A tall, reptilian alien named Zixtor stepped forward, his scales glittering under the bright lights. "You foolish humans," he hissed. "You don't understand what you're doing. The Zarnak are weak. They will only drag your species down." Back on Earth, in the White House Situation Room, President Laura Chen watched the council meeting via hologram. Her face was grim as she turned to her advisors. "It's worse than we thought," she said. "The council is furious. We need to prepare for their response." As if on cue, a red light began flashing on the communication panel. An aide rushed over to check it. "Madam President," he said, his voice shaking, "we're receiving reports. The Galactic Council has announced trade sanctions against Earth. All our ships are being turned away from alien ports." President Chen's fists clenched. She had expected this, but it still hurt. Earth had only recently joined the galactic community. These sanctions could set them back decades. Meanwhile, in the Zarnak compound, Caroline and Melira watched the news with heavy hearts. They saw humans arguing on TV, some supporting them, others demanding they leave. "We're causing so much trouble," Melira said sadly. "Maybe we should go." But Dr. Emily Patul, who was with them, shook her head firmly. "No," she said, "you're not the problem. The council's bigotry is. We'll find a way through this." Just then, Caroline's antennas twitched. He could sense a wave of anger approaching. Outside, they heard shouts. They rushed to the window to see a crowd of protesters marching towards the compound. They carried signs with harsh slogans. "Aliens out. Save our jobs. Humans first." Caroline's antennas drooped. "They hate us," he whispered. But then, something unexpected happened. Another group appeared, placing themselves between the protesters and the compound. It was a mix of humans and Zarnak, standing side by side. They held their own signs. "Friends, not foes. Diversity makes us stronger. Zarnak welcome here." Dr. Paddle smiled. "See," she said, "not everyone feels the same way. You have allies here." As days passed, the situation grew tenser. Earth's economy struggled under the sanctions. Some factories closed, unable to get the alien materials they needed. People lost jobs. The protests grew larger. But at the same time, something beautiful was happening. Humans who had befriended the Zarnak started to speak out. They shared stories of how the aliens had helped them. A mother went on TV, tears in her eyes. "My son has autism," she said. "He struggled to communicate his feelings, but the Zarnak taught him to express emotions in a way we never could. They're not weak. They're amazing." A veteran with PTSD stood up at a town hall meeting. "The Zarnak helped me find peace," he declared. "Their empathic abilities did more for me than years of therapy. We can't turn our backs on them." In hospitals, schools, and counseling centers, Zarnak worked alongside humans, using their unique abilities to help. Slowly, more and more people began to see their value. President Chen, seeing this, decided to take a bold step. She called a press conference. "We face difficult times," she announced. "The Galactic Council's actions are hurting us, but we will not give in to their demands. The Zarnak have proven themselves to be valuable members of our society. They are under our protection, and we will weather this storm together." As her words spread across the world, Caroline watched from the compound. He felt a mixture of guilt for the trouble they'd caused and gratitude for the humans' steadfast support. "What do you think will happen now?" he asked Melira. She looked at him, her antennas quivering with determination. I don't know, she said, but whatever comes, we'll face it together, with our human friends. The emergency alarms blared throughout the Galactic Council's space station. Aliens of all shapes and sizes ran through the corridors, their faces filled with fear. In the main control room, the council members argued loudly. It's spreading too fast, shouted Zixtor, the reptilian alien. We can't control it. On the main screen, a map of the galaxy showed a strange purple cloud spreading across star systems. It was the Void Plague, a mysterious disease that affected the mind, making people angry and violent. Back on Earth, President Laura Chen received the distress call from the council. Her face was grim as she turned to her team. They're asking for our help, she said, after everything they did to us. John Martinez, the Earth's ambassador, nodded. It's our chance to show them what humanity is made of, he said, and what the Zarnok can do. In the Zarnok compound, Caroline and Melira watched the news about the Void Plague with worry. Dr. Emily Patel rushed in, her eyes wide with excitement. We need your help, she said breathlessly. Your empathic abilities, they might be the key to stopping this plague. Caroline's antennas twitched nervously. But how? We've never dealt with anything like this before. Dr. Patel explained quickly. The Void Plague affected the emotional centers of the brain. The Zarnok's ability to sense and influence emotions might be able to calm the infected and slow the spread of the disease. It's dangerous, Dr. Patel admitted, but you might be the galaxy's only hope. Melira and Caroline looked at each other. They had been called weak and useless for so long. Now they had a chance to prove everyone wrong. We'll do it, Melira said firmly. Within hours, a joint human Zarnok team was assembled. They boarded a special ship, equipped with the best human technology, and staffed with brave volunteers from both species. As they approached the first infected planet, everyone was nervous. Through the ship's windows, they could see cities in chaos, people fighting in the streets. Caroline took a deep breath and stepped into the special chamber they had prepared. He focused his mind, extending his empathic senses towards the planet below. Suddenly, he staggered. The wave of anger and fear from the infected people hit him like a physical blow. But he didn't give up. Slowly, carefully, he began to project feelings of calm and peace. On the planet's surface, the effect was immediate. People stopped fighting. The anger in their eyes faded, replaced by confusion and then relief. It's working, shouted Dr. Patel, watching the screens. The infection rate is dropping. For days, they moved from planet to planet. It was hard work. Many Zarnok got sick from the mental strain, but they kept going. Humans worked tirelessly alongside them, providing support and care. Word of their success spread quickly. The Galactic Council watched in amazement as the Void Plague was pushed back, system by system. Zixtor, who had once called the Zarnok weak, couldn't believe his eyes. How is this possible? He asked, watching the Zarnok work. Ambassador Martinez smiled. They're not weak, he said. They just have a different kind of strength, one we all overlooked. As the crisis neared its end, the heroes returned to Earth. They were greeted by cheering crowds, humans and Zarnok standing side by side. President Chen met them at the landing pad. She shook Caroline's hand, her eyes filled with gratitude. You've saved us all, she said. Earth thanks you. The galaxy thanks you. Caroline's antennas quivered with emotion. We only did what anyone would do, he said humbly. We're just glad we could help. That evening, as Caroline and Melira watched the sun set over their new home, they felt a sense of peace they hadn't known in years. Do you think things will change now? Caroline asked. Melira nodded, her antennas dancing happily. They already have, she said. We're not outcasts anymore. We're heroes. As the stars came out, human and Zarnok children played together in the distance, their laughter carrying on the evening breeze. It was the sound of a new beginning, not just for Earth or the Zarnok, but for the entire galaxy. The great hall of the Galactic Council was silent. Gone were the angry shouts and harsh words of before. Now all eyes were fixed on the holographic display at the center of the room. It showed the final statistics of the void play crisis. Billions saved, hundreds of worlds rescued, and at the heart of it all, Earth and the Zarnok. Zixtor, the reptilian alien who had once sneered at the Zarnok, stood up slowly. His scales shimmered in the soft light as he cleared his throat. We were wrong," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "The Zarnok are not weak. And the humans, their compassion is a strength we did not understand." Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Alien races that had once looked down on the Zarnok now spoke of them with respect and gratitude. News channels buzzed with stories of their bravery and the unique powers that had saved so many lives. On Earth, Carolon watched these reports with wide eyes. He sat in a cozy living room, surrounded by his human friends. Dr. Emily Patel reached out and patted his hand. "You did it," she said, smiling. "You showed them all what you can do." Carolon's antennas wiggled happily, but he shook his head. "Not just us," he said. "We did it together, humans and Zarnok. We make a good team." Outside, the streets were filled with celebration. Humans and Zarnok danced together, their joy lighting up the night. Colorful banners hung from buildings, declaring heroes of the galaxy, with pictures of both species side by side. In the White House, President Laura Chen met with Melira. The Zarnok leader stood tall, her posture full of newfound confidence. "The Galactic Council has lifted all sanctions against Earth," President Chen said, her eyes twinkling. "And they're asking for our help in setting up new policies of inclusion and cooperation." Melira's antennas quivered with excitement. "And the Zarnok?" she asked. "What will happen to us?" President Chen's smile widened. "That's up to you," she said. "Earth is your home for as long as you want it, but the galaxy is opening its doors to you now. You have choices." As word spread of these changes, the mood across Earth and the galaxy shifted. The last pockets of resistance against the Zarnok began to fade. People who had once protested their presence now asked to learn from them. Schools invited Zarnok teachers to help students understand emotions better. Hospitals created special wards where Zarnok healers worked alongside human doctors, using their empathic abilities to speed up recovery and ease pain. But it wasn't just on Earth that things were changing. Other alien races began to reach out, asking to learn from the Human-Zarnok Alliance. Ambassador John Martinez found himself busier than ever, traveling from world to world. Everywhere he went, he brought teams of humans and Zarnok, showing how their strengths complemented each other. Strength isn't just about physical power or advanced technology, he would say in his speeches. It's about understanding, compassion, and working together. That's what humans and Zarnok have taught each other, and it's a lesson the whole galaxy can learn from. Back in the Zarnok compound, now a thriving community integrated with the surrounding human city, Carolon and Melira sat under the stars. They remembered the dark days when they had fled their home, rejected and afraid. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" Carolon asked, his voice soft with wonder. Melira shook her head, her antennas swaying gently. "Never," she said. "But I'm so glad it did. We found more than just a new home. We found our place in the galaxy." As they sat there, a shooting star streaked across the sky. In the distance, they could hear the sound of human and Zarnok children playing together, their laughter echoing in the night air. Carolon smiled. It was the sound of the future, a future brighter than they had ever dared to hope for. A future where being different wasn't a weakness, but a strength to be celebrated. And it had all started here, on this little blue planet called Earth, with humans who had seen value in those the galaxy had cast aside. 5 years had passed since the void plague crisis. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have imagined. Today, on a beautiful space station orbiting Earth, Representatives from every known species gathered for a historic event. Carlon stood at the window, his blue skin reflecting the starlight. He watched as ships of all shapes and sizes arrived, carrying delegates from across the galaxy. His antennas quivered with excitement and a touch of nervousness. "Are you ready?" asked a familiar voice. Carlon turned to see Dr. Emily Patel, now Earth's Minister of Intergalactic Relations. She smiled warmly at him. "I think so," Carlon replied, straightening his new uniform. It bore the symbol of the United Galactic Alliance, an organization that didn't exist just a few years ago. They walked together to the Great Hall. Inside, the room buzzed with conversation in 100 different languages. Humans mingled freely with aliens of all kinds. And everywhere, Carlon saw his fellow Zarnak, their blue skin and quivering antennas of common sight among the diverse crowd. At the center of the hall stood a raised platform. Melira was there, talking quietly with President Laura Chen and Zixtor, the once hostile reptilian alien who now served as the head of the Galactic Council. As Carlon and Dr. Patil approached, President Chen smiled and gestured for Carlon to join them on the platform. His heart beat faster as he climbed the steps. President Chen raised her hands, and the hall fell silent. "Friends, colleagues, citizens of the galaxy," she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the room. "We are here today to celebrate a new era of cooperation and understanding." She spoke of the challenges they had faced, the prejudices overcome, and the friendships forged in the fires of crisis. Then she turned to Melira. The Zarnak leader stepped forward, her antennas high with pride. "5 years ago, my people were refugees, shunned, and homeless," she said. "Today, we stand as equals among the stars. This is the power of compassion, of seeing value in differences rather than fearing them." Zixtor spoke next, his scaly face solemn. "We were wrong to judge based on old ideas of strength," he admitted. "The humans and Zarnak have taught us that true power lies in unity, in combining our unique gifts." Then, to Carolon's surprise, President Chen gestured for him to speak. He hadn't prepared anything, but as he looked out at the sea of faces, human, Zarnak, and 100 other species all watching expectantly, he knew what to say. "I was just a scared young Zarnak when we first came to Earth," he began, his melodious voice carrying clearly through the hall. "I thought we were weak, that we had nothing to offer. But the humans saw something in us that we couldn't see ourselves." He paused, his antennas moving gently as he sensed the emotions in the room. "They gave us a chance, and together, we discovered that what some saw as weakness was actually our greatest strength. Our empathy, our ability to understand and connect with others, turned out to be exactly what the galaxy needed." Carlon smiled, looking around at humans and aliens standing side by side. "Look at us now. We're not just coexisting, we're thriving together. Every species here has something unique to offer. And when we combine those gifts, there's nothing we can't achieve." As he finished speaking, the hall erupted in cheers and applause. Humans, Zarnak, and aliens of all kinds celebrated together. Carlon felt a wave of joy and unity wash over him, so strong it made his antennas tingle. Later, as the festivities continued, Carlon found a quiet moment with Melira and Dr. Patil. They stood by the window, looking out at the earth below and the stars beyond. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" Dr. Patil asked, echoing the question Carlon had asked years ago. Melira shook her head, smiling. "Never, but I'm so glad it did." Carlon nodded, his heart full of gratitude. "We found more than a new home," he said softly. "We found a new family, one as big as the galaxy itself." As they watched, a fleet of ships took off from Earth, their lights twinkling against the darkness of space. They carried human and Zarnak crews, heading out to explore new worlds together. It was a sight that filled Carlon with hope and excitement for the future. A future where no one was shunned, where strength came in many forms, and where the galaxy was a brighter place because of it.